Here's what hustle plays are all about. You got 3 Phoenix players around Caitlin Clark, and
she was involved in on the offensive end, created a lot of conversation over the past week.
I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
You want to know why this story has taken over every single sport conversation right now? Because the right voices are finally speaking up at full volume. June 24th, 2026. Indiana Fever versus Phoenix Mercury. Second quarter. And something happened in that building that stopped the basketball world completely in its tracks. NBA fans, WNBA fans, analysts, coaches, players, every single one of them united in one direction. One voice. Total and complete outrage.
Now, what I would love Caitlin to do is get up one time and then just slap the out of her.
Because Alyssa Thomas put her fist directly into Caitlin Clark's throat while Clark was lying on the floor, completely defenseless.
Boom, look at her put her knee into Caitlin Clark's groin.
The play was already dead. The ball was gone. And the basketball universe responded with a level of fury that has not been seen around this league in years, including from Steph Curry.
If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
And when the greatest shooter who has ever lived, the man who single-handedly redefined what basketball looks like, the player Caitlin Clark herself trains with and studies and looks up to, when he speaks on something, you stop and you listen. Because he knows exactly what it feels like to be the most talented person on the floor while opponents do everything except play basketball to slow you down. He has lived that reality every single night of his career. And he has been watching what is happening to Caitlin Clark with the same set of eyes as everyone else in the sport. If you're new here, subscribe right now, because we are not leaving this story alone until the WNBA does what needs to be done. What Steph Curry said was simple, direct, and exactly what everyone was already thinking.
Watch this. Look at that. Look at her put her fist and her forearm into Caitlin Clark's neck.
He said he would love for Clark to get up one time and just handle it herself. Now here is why that comment carries the weight that it does. Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark are not connected by reputation alone. Before the 2026 WNBA season started, Clark publicly revealed she had been working with Curry's personal trainer Brandon Payne to sharpen her game heading into the year. She said she knew Payne worked with Steph, that she loves Steph's game, and that she was looking for creative ways to challenge herself and become better. This is not a casual celebrity mention. This is a genuine professional relationship built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of what it means to carry a sport on your shoulders while opponents try to take you apart piece by piece. And what is that shared experience exactly? Being the most important player in your league.
Clark, sidestep three, fading, hits!
Being the player that every defense builds its entire scheme around stopping.
Look at all the contact between Clark and LeCon.
And Clark hits a deep three!
Being the player that gets grabbed, held, pushed, pressed, and fouled at every opportunity.
Caitlin Clark looked like she was kind of doing this, like Alyssa Thomas tried to step on her.
And then watching the aggressor skate free while you absorb the contact without a whistle. If there is any player in professional basketball who understands Clark's daily reality in the WNBA, it is Steph Curry in the NBA. Clark has been grabbed off the ball, pulled it on drives, and physically contested on possessions where the ball is not even near her. And Curry faces that exact same treatment every single night he suits up. Back in January 2026, this parallel became impossible to ignore. Curry was being physically manhandled in a game against the Charlotte Hornets, and Clark jumped into the comments of a video. She wrote, "Stop grabbing him, please. We want to see Steph make 12 threes a game." Basketball analyst Robin Lundberg saw the comment immediately and said what everyone was thinking. It almost felt like Clark was speaking for herself by defending Curry. So when Alyssa Thomas put a fist into Clark's throat on June 24th and walked away without a single whistle, Steph Curry did not just see a WNBA controversy. He saw his own reflection. He saw the physical brutality that the best players in any sport have to absorb simply because they're too good to be stopped by legitimate basketball. He saw enough. He said enough is enough. Here is exactly what happened on that play, because the details matter and they need to be said clearly. Just over 3 minutes into the second quarter, there was a loose ball on the floor. Players on both sides were battling for possession. That is normal basketball. That is competitive and physical and completely acceptable. But what happened after the ball left the situation was not basketball. After the play was already dead and the ball was already away, Alyssa Thomas dug her fist directly into Caitlin Clark's neck while Clark was still lying on the court. Then Thomas stepped over her like she was not even there. No foul was called. No whistle. No discussion. The ball was gone. The play was over. Clark was on the ground, and Thomas pressed her fist into Clark's throat and walked away. Replay footage showed 2 separate points of contact. Thomas driving her knee into Clark's thigh, area first, directly targeting the injury that cost Clark essentially an entire season of professional basketball, and then pressing her fist into Clark's neck while a referee was standing right on the baseline with a direct sight line to everything that occurred. 0 call. Clark left the game in the third quarter with a back injury and never returned.
You know, I'm disappointed that it wasn't recognized in real time.
The most recognizable and important player in women's basketball. Gone from the game because a referee stood there and did nothing. The fan response was immediate and it did not hold anything back. One fan on X wrote that the refereeing is completely out of control in the WNBA and that if the league is not careful, their biggest superstar is going to get seriously hurt. Another wrote that Thomas immediately should have received a technical foul, calling it dirty and completely uncalled for and saying the refs are a joke. A third pointed out that Thomas has a well-documented history of this kind of play. But the comment that landed hardest came from someone who openly said they do not regularly follow the WNBA and were watching for the first time. They wrote that they honestly do not watch many WNBA games, but they were watching this one and could not believe what they just saw. Think about what that means. A brand new viewer. Someone the league has been desperately trying to attract. Someone who tuned in for the first time and within minutes watched Alyssa Thomas put her fist into Caitlin Clark's throat with no call. That is your first impression on a casual sports fan. A fist to the throat. Play on. That is what the WNBA served to a first-time viewer in 2026. The media responded just as loudly. Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports put it in 4 words. Brutal cheap shot, full stop. Sports Illustrated's Robin Lundberg went directly to the league office and called for immediate suspension of Thomas. Former WNBA star Stacey Dales delivered 5 words that should have echoed through the league offices all day. This is pathetic, she said. Not even a loose ball play worth defending. And then Dales added the line that should be framed on every wall in the WNBA headquarters. They got what they wanted. Clark out of the game.
Our first major incident of the year, Caitlin Clark is out.
A former professional player said the dirty play achieved its exact intended purpose. That sentence alone should have triggered an emergency review. Now here is the part where we have to give credit where credit is completely due. We have been critical of Stephanie White on this channel, consistently and specifically.
There's been so much more toxicity, racism, homophobia, straight out like nonsense, hate nonsense. You know, I think first and foremost, it's absolutely unacceptable. I think as a league, as a whole.
But what she did at that post-game podium needs to be acknowledged fully and without reservation. She showed up with real fire and aimed it at exactly the right target. White told reporters directly that what she saw was egregious and that the fact it was a no call was unacceptable. She revealed she brought it to the attention of the officials at halftime and then watched Indiana get called for 11 fouls in the fourth quarter while Phoenix got called for 2. She watched her team foul 24 times in the second half against a team that just physically attacked her best player without consequence. She kept going. She called it absolutely egregious and utterly disrespectful. She said being aware of what happened 2 days earlier and then watching it happen again was absolutely unacceptable. And then she delivered the line of the entire postgame. She called it a do-over on a test. The league had a chance to review the play on the monitor. They looked at the footage, and they still did nothing. White said, "How do you screw up a do-over?" And she was right. The monitor was there. The footage was there. The officials looked directly at it and walked away. White closed by calling Clark a generational talent and a WNBA superstar who absorbed 2 cheap shots that went completely uncalled. Not 1, 2. the fist to the throat, and a reckless closeout that was reviewed on the monitor and still not upgraded to a flagrant. 2 cheap shots, 0 calls. Here is what makes all of this so genuinely maddening when you step back and look at the full picture. Caitlin Clark spent the entire offseason working with Brandon Payne, Steph Curry's personal trainer, specifically to come back stronger, to recover from the injuries that derailed her last season, to show up in 2026 as the most complete version of herself. She put in every single hour of work. She did everything the right way. She arrived at June 24th playing some of the best basketball of her professional career. And then a fist landed on her throat, a knee drove into her body, and she left the game with a back injury while the league's officials stood and watched without moving a muscle. This is not random. This is not a one-time incident that can be explained away. This is a pattern that has followed Caitlin Clark from the very first game she played as a professional in this league. Grabbed off the ball, held on drives, pressed, and pushed on dead plays, physically targeted on known injuries. And now it has escalated to a fist to the throat with a referee standing on the baseline looking directly at it. Steph Curry knows this pattern because he lives this pattern every season. The greatest players in any sport attract this treatment. But in the NBA, in any league that actually takes the protection of its stars seriously, there are real consequences. Flagrant fouls, ejections, suspensions. The WNBA reviewed this exact play on a monitor and walked away having done nothing. That is the scandal, not just the cheap shot itself. The review that produced 0 consequences is the scandal. The word the league used was could issue discipline, could review further, could take action. That single word should terrify every fan of this sport, because could is not will. And until could becomes will without exception, Caitlin Clark is not safe on that basketball court. The entire basketball world, from Steph Curry to every person watching highlights on their phone at midnight, is asking the same question today. Will the WNBA finally give Alyssa Thomas a suspension that actually means something? And if they do not, what message does that send to every player in this league who decides that taking a shortcut against the best player in the world is worth the risk? Tell us in the comments exactly how many games Thomas deserves and whether you actually believe the WNBA is capable of protecting Caitlin Clark at this point. Or has this already gone too far to fix with a suspension? Every comment, drop it. Let's go.